What is up? Welcome back to the Colecast. I am Francis. I am one of your hosts here, and I am joined by the ever so delicate Charlie Ellis.
Hi.
He's a flower to be protected. So, thank you for spending some time with us, guys. As we always say, this is our way of connecting to you, even if we're in different states, if we're in different areas of the world. We want to make sure that you guys feel connected to our community and that we can continue to be inspired by you guys. We do this to open communication. So if anything that you hear in these podcasts starts a trinkle of a thought in your brain, comment something on Facebook, comment something on Instagram, comment something on the podcast on Spotify. I just found out you can put comments on podcasts on Spotify. I just liked one. I was like, oh, this is a neat feature. So I liked the comment. I am going to try, keyword try, to be a little bit more active in responding to comments on the actual podcast itself on Shopify. Cole Ironworks does not have a Shopify account, so if somebody replies to you and says, thank you so much, I appreciate the input. It's probably me.
It does mean Spotify.
What am I saying?
Shopify.
Oh, sorry. We host our website on Shopify.
My wife gets those switched all the time, too.
There's too many Opifys. Mm-hmm. Two is too many, especially when there is one letter delineation between the two. But I just want to encourage everybody to stay connected. This is our way of trying to stay connected to you. Don't feel silly for reaching out about something on the podcast. Don't feel silly for wanting to continue the conversation. We can only grow if we have. I'm very delayed.
Yeah, I was a little slow on that one.
We can only grow if we stay in good communication. That is going to be key to all of our growths. So, news and events. Guys, I had somebody reach out with information about their forging group. They did a whole flyer. Hopefully, I will be able to get this to Evan to be able to put on the screen. There's a little QR code for you to just hover over and get going straight to their website. But I want to read you a little bit about Southern Ohio Forge and Anvil. This is a great community that we've been involved with a lot. And David Hastings, let me make sure that I got your name correct. David Hastings took the time to make a flyer. It's kind of evergreen and lets us know what they do in a roundabout way. And this will now follow us. I am going to have, as part of our show kit, a 3-ring binder or something that is organized to where when people come up to us and we're in Missouri and they're like, wow, you guys talk so great about SOFA and the IBA and all this stuff. I wish I had that here. I want to be able to open up my binder and say, oh, okay, we're in Missouri. Let me go to my Missouri area. Here are the different groups that you can join, and here's some information on them. So thank you, David, for making this for us. This is going to get laminated and put into a binder, and hopefully that binder gets so big that I have to actually make a digital one because it's too much to carry around. So here's some information about Southern Ohio Forge and Anvil. Southern Ohio Forge and Anvil is an affiliate with ABANA, the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America, and is a non-for-profit formed in 1977. Its founders, Emmert Studebaker, Larry Wood, and Bob Zeller were inspired by the former Ohio Artists Blacksmith Association to create an organization dedicated to preserve and promote the art of blacksmithing. The meetings, they have monthly meetings held on the first Saturday of each month or the second Saturday if the first has a holiday nearby. So you guys can still come to our hammer-in every month. So the first Saturday, you go to Ohio, you hang out with them. Second Saturday, you come to Indiana, or last Saturday, you come to Indiana, you hang out with us. There's an open forge session from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. with a short meeting that starts at 1 p.m. and a demonstration, after the meeting. The open forge starts on October through May. The forges are available for any member on Wednesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's a late night forging. That's especially in the winter. It's already dark at 6 o'clock. Yeah. Quad State Roundup. I could read you what he had to say about this, but instead I'm just going to read you what they're doing this year. So we're going to continue on to classes and workshops. Classes and workshops are offered all throughout the year. Check the SOFA website for the schedule and class information. Membership is only, how much do you think SOFA's membership is, Charlie?
It's got to be at least $200.
No, sir. Evan, how much do you think the SOFA's membership is?
$201, Pat.
No, you guys are both wrong and you go home with nothing. However, you guys can both go home with 10 memberships each.
$20?
$20 a year.
That's a deal.
$20 a year to what I would consider one of the most premier blacksmithing groups in America. They do more than most to give access to their members of forge equipment, of community, of material. There are tons of benefits for joining this organization. And I'm able to say that because we've worked with them so much in the past. I've gone to Quad State for quite a long time now. And $20 a year is absolutely insane. Every time I re-up, it's a shock. So that's what's going on with SOFA, guys. I mentioned this little thing called Quad State. That is coming up September 26th, 27th. The dates around there. You can also come out and hang out if you want to get there early for tailgating. We are going to be there Wednesday. I know a lot of guys set up Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to give you the rant. Make sure you pay for camping. Make sure you pay for RV hookups. Make sure that you are clean, that you are not dumping water in other people's campgrounds. Just be a decent human being. Okay? So here's what we got going on. Let me scroll down to it here. John Taylor's doing traditional joinery. He is from Jamestown, Tennessee. We have Butch. Sorry, I'm so bad at talking, guys. I shouldn't have to do this for a living. We have Butch Seeley. Is it Sheely or Seeley? I've always said Seeley. This is the first time I've seen his name written.
I've always heard it Sheely.
Okay, so Butch Sheely. Got to spend a little bit of time talking to Butch at the ABS event. Wonderful, wonderful guy. He's going to be doing a bladesmithing demonstration at Site B. And this is not a guy who got into it at 40, 50 years old and retired and kind of messes around with it. This is a man who has done anything and everything with bladesmithing, traveled back and forth between here and France for a long time. Nope, wrong person.
Yeah, wrong person.
That's not Butch.
No, that's Joe Kiesler.
That's Joe Kiesler. I talk to so many people at ABS and I feel bad because I am terrible with names. Anyway, I've got his safety data sheet right here, his little bio. He started bladesmithing in 1982. He joined the ABS in 2005. So he's still been doing it longer than you have, most of the listeners out there. He's going to have good insight. Most of the knives that he makes are forged from 5160. However, he also likes to use 1084, 1095, W2, 5220, and a majority of Damascus, which is made out of 1084 and 15M20. He only uses natural handles for his knives: wood, stag, antler horn, and bone. He likes the appearance and the natural feel of the materials that he styles as he makes fit. So that's going to be a good one. I apologize, Butch, for mixing you up with Joe, but you're both terrific people, and I know that we did talk. So there's a whole nother page on this. He is very accomplished and is a part of a lot of forging organizations, and I believe that that should be inspiration for you guys to do it as well. Next, we have Historic Blacksmith Conservancy. They are forging at various locations, which means they'll probably be doing a few different projects or a few different projects that will come together into one, but they will be doing a Sam Yellen-inspired gate. The design is adapted from a 1928 work by Sam Yellen. We have Michael Fassold. He is a he's not a blacksmith shop, but he is from Cathedral Blacksmith Shop, hailing out of Portland, Oregon. And he is known for creating time-honored works in both wrought and steel. Gonna be a rough one. I don't know what's wrong with me today. His creative process draws inspiration from pre-industrial handcrafted mythology and tradition. He will be exhibiting the spirit of centuries of antique ironwork. That'll be a good one to jump in on. We have Jacques Galland from Montreal, Quebec, coming all the way down from Canada. He has an expertise in restoration works of architectural iron and also enjoys large-scale public art installation. Jacques is currently focused on the restoration of historic wrought iron, both the preservation of the art and for the deeper understanding of pre-industrial metalworking techniques. You can follow him at Jacques_Galland. Gallant. I don't know if it's Gallant or Gallant. At Jacques_Gallant. Next, we have Bradley Schwarz. Bradley explores the intersection between modern I can't read either. I can't talk, can't read. Modern, practically useful items and early medieval ironwork. His body of work incorporates the process used by early smiths to forge botanical and animal motifs, which are adapted into his own design. You can follow him at Bradley Schwarz on Instagram. Gabriel Craig. Craig is a blacksmith and an architectural historian based out of Detroit, Michigan. He is the co-owner of Smith Shop. It's Smith Shop Detroit on Instagram. His studio, Smith Shop, produces functional and ornamental ironwork, focusing on works of extraordinary design and craftsmanship. Craig is currently working on a book about historical ironwork from Detroit in 1900 to 1935. So if you have any insight on that, shoot him a message, let him know, get a conversation started, make a buddy. We have Richard Sullivan, who's going to continue his gunsmithing. He's done this for the past couple years. This is a multi-page explanation, so I can't read it all, but let's see if he's going over. He's going to be demoing making the sheet brass mounts for a rifle, including ramrod thimbles, ramrod tailpiece, nosepiece, and hinged brass patchbox lid and finale. That definitely finial. Once again, can't read. On day 2, he will be welding a rifle barrel. Those are the demonstrations, guys. The contests. We have Doug Lockhart from Logan, Ohio, and Dave Custer from Columbia, Kentucky is going to be leading that away. Southern Ohio School of Blacksmithing is where Doug is located. Fiery Furnace Forge is Dave. We have more demonstrators. Caitlin Morris is a hands-on forging. Hangs out with the Misfits in the Scallywags. She sings loudly and out of tune. She's partial to walks in the rain, but the most important thing, Caitlin loves blacksmithing. She runs Miss Caitlin School in Frederick, Maryland, and Litzy, Pennsylvania. Guys, I am so bad at this. I'm so sorry. She is a founding member of the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths. She's making the craft more accessible and inclusive through pioneering body mechanic research and neuroscience-based teaching. That's cool. That's super cool, actually. When you put a hammer to hot steel, Caitlin wants there to be a guide, a mentor, mentor, and inspire you. She's good at lighting fires. I think that's supposed to be both physical and metaphorical there. The rest is just telling you how to camp and rent golf carts. Do so. Pay for camping, pay for golf carts. These guys are charging you $20 a year to have access to so many things. This is the time of year that it is for you to give back to them. Is there anything I forgot about Quad State? Little Evan. Evan says there is something, but he's not using words.
We're golden. That's all good.
Okay. Is there anything I forgot, Charlie? Charlie's got a hotel room, so if you need to shower, hit me up. I will have a key.
Just give us heads up.
You're too nice. That happened to me on a trip that I took. A bunch of people actually took me up on my free showers. Come out and see us, guys. We're going to make this big. We're going to make, this is going to be a really cool Quad State. I really hope for good weather. So far, it looks like we're going to have it. It's going to be perfect outdoor forging weather. And we have some Twix up our sleeves. Some Twix up our sleeves. I've got probably 3 truckloads of machines to bring out. I will have coal carts. I will have 833. I am toying with the idea of having an induction forge or two brought out. But we're going to make this really big. An induction forge to sell. We're going to have one to show off. We also have one there for demonstrators to use, but we're going to make this a really big event. This is our 10-year anniversary, guys. So we started it. We consider Quad State to be our start. We didn't know we were going to build presses. We took one to Quad State, and then we got bullied into making presses for the rest of our lives. So we want to say thank you for providing for us in the way that this community has, whether you own a press or not. Just a conversation, just a little bit of inspiration, quality feedback. It is all very much appreciated. And so we are going to come out and we're going to try and do something big. We will have shirts for sale for the first time in forever, including, are we going to put them on the website, our 10-year anniversary shirt?
Yeah, they're already up there.
Okay, so we have our 10-year anniversary shirt on the website, but we will have them for sale in person. We will also have a limited edition Halloween sweatshirt, and moving forward, I think we're going to try to get more stuff like that in front of you guys. The big feedback that I hear from a lot of people is merch related, which is weird because it's like people are like, "Hey, I want to spend money. Give me reasons to spend money with you." And I will oblige. So come out, hang out with us. Of course, the Yeti will be out there with delicious beverages available. We'll have some stock if you have your own project you want to work on. We only have a couple times that you won't be able to just walk up and do that. We have plans for a couple demonstrations, but other than that, guys, we just want you. We want you there, and we want to hang out with you. So that is my roundup for Quad State. Next up, very briefly, and we'll go more into depth after we get back from Quad State about this, but we have the Andy Davis Hammer In coming up. Once again, we're going a little bit bigger than we've gone in the past. We've got we've networked with some absolutely fantastic brands in the past, and we are going to leverage some of those relationships and our location being different from theirs to be able to give back to you, from our end and then from a couple of the other vendors' ends. The raffle that I mentioned about don't show up with hundreds of dollars because that's not the kind of raffle it was going to be. Well, that got thrown on its end. So we will be raffling off 2 very large items. And as we get closer into the time frame here, I will announce what those things are. But I just want to shout out an unnamed company for now for a huge vote of support and just awesome guys that have agreed to do something very special for us and for one lucky winner to go home with. So that's the Andy Davis Hammer In. That is December 5th and 6th here in Anderson, Indiana. And like I said, I will go more into depth about that as we get closer. Anything else I need to let anybody know about, Evan? Nope. Okay. We've got the Josh Prince class coming up. We've got a Bread On It class coming up. Charlie's got a Make It Stick coming up. Check out coolschool.com for all of our classes coming up. The Josh Prince class is going to be super special. It's going to be freaking awesome. And I can't wait to spend a little bit of time around him. So, Brett, I'm around quite a lot, but I also can't wait to spend time around him. Every day's an adventure with Brett. So,
yep.
That's it. That's our news and events. I'm so sorry that this keeps getting longer and longer every time, guys. I keep getting worked up about what's going on and excited about the future and opportunities to see you guys and hang out with you guys. While I was at ABS, I had a couple guys come up to me, and it is a little weird, and this is not on their end at all, because I put my life out publicly for them to listen to. I talk about, buying a house and my struggles with the raccoons in the barn, and this is happening and that is happening. So people will come up and they'll say, "Oh, hey, Francis, how's your cat?" Who are you? So I have to get more used to, oh yeah, I'm talking about these things publicly. Once I realize that in my own brain, I love having the conversations. I love talking to you guys. I like people. Everything that I do in my life is motivated by how I get to interact with people and exchange values, make sure that I'm enriching their lives because they're enriching my lives. So don't stop doing that. Just also don't think that I'm weirded out if I seem like I'm weirded out for a second, because I always forget that I'm putting this out publicly and that people listen. It's nice to know that people actually care about what we have to say and that you guys follow along. So all that being said, welcome Charlie Ellis.
Thank you.
Episode 4, 3, 5?
4. Yeah, 4 counting the D&D session.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Charlie, I want to talk a little bit today. We'll maybe cover some things that you've talked about before, but your podcast with Nathan is long enough ago that I hope we've reached a couple new people to introduce you to. You got your start at about 15 or 16, right?
Yeah. So 14 when I first forged, and then
so about 15.
Yeah.
Sure. 14 is about 15, Charlie. Good night. See what I have to deal with, guys? All right. So you got your start. You went and took a class at New England School of Metalwork, right?
Yeah, when I was 15.
When you were 15. Got into knife making. Mm-hmm. Jumped in with both feet, or did you kind of paddle out eventually getting to the point you're at now?
I mean, I was a teenager, so I did it as much as I could, being with limited resources and whatnot, you know. But, you know, I was also a teenager, so what else was I going to do? Play video games and play football?
I don't know if you're questioning. Not football.
I'm trying to think of what normal teenagers do.
I mean, I would say football. Yeah, it would be very normal for a teenager when I ask them, "Hey, what do you do in your free time?" Well, I'm on the football team.
Yeah. Okay.
Baseball team.
Yeah, and some kind of sports ball.
Yeah, sports. I love that you
or band.
You made it sound like you were questioning whether football was a sport or not. You were like, football, the soccer. Band's another great example, but my answer to that would be yes, Charlie. What else are you going to do? You just listed exactly what teenagers do. They, you know, I don't think they go to malls anymore, but you know, they go on teenager play dates and they go to McDonald's and buy cheap food and hang out in the lobby for 3 hours. They play football. They play in the band. They play in their own, you know, house band. They're learning the origins of grunge and rock and, but you weren't struck with the sports bug. You weren't struck with the music bug or the, you know, get overly into Legos bug or, you know, anything like that. You're not super into diesel mechanics. You got hit with the knife bug.
I got deep into Legos.
I should have known. Should have known. So you're doing it as much as possible. What does that realistically mean? Is that you're going out and you're making knife shaped items, or you're going out and you are taking months to make one thing because you are following the process as closely as you can and having to overcome pitfalls to get to the proper place?
I mean, the first few knives I made were real crude and quick, you know, which I was taking classes at a community college. So one night a week, I was there 6 to 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they ended up getting four or five Bader grinders.
Nice.
Which, like, at that time, that was, you know, this was before Wilmot and before.
Yeah, that was the bee's
everyone
knees.
else. Yeah, it was like, oh, this is like the grinder to have.
Mm-hmm. And they're still good. Yeah, like there's nothing bad about a Bader.
Oh no. So yeah, being able to use the equipment there, and eventually, you know, a couple of years later, I bought my own Bader because it's like that's what I knew, and it was, you know, at that point there was also a TW90 in the school. It's like, oh, that one's pretty cool too.
Wow, even better, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, oh, that grinder's $4,000 and the Bader's, I forget what it was. It was 1,800 or something, or 1,500 something.
Yeah, they're still not that bad.
Yeah.
They're still
so it's like,
25.
I'll spend money on the Bader.
Yeah.
Which I bought it from James Poplin, Pop's Knife Supply. And he's down in Georgia. I was in North Carolina. So he was traveling up to Virginia to see his sister or some relative or something. He's like, hey, drop by Asheville and, you can pick it up and save on shipping.
Can I stay on your couch?
No.
Free delivery if I can sleep over.
Yeah. So yeah, he ended up I already had paid for shipping, but he's like, just make the difference up in belts,
Sure.
So it's like, yeah, I'll get, $150 worth of belts. I'm going to use them. So yeah, at that point, I was starting to get my own setup in a little shed in the backyard and a little rivet forge, coal forge that burnt down half of my, or a wall of my shop because I was trying to heat the shop in the wintertime with wood inside the coal forge. And there was hardy board behind the forge, but it ended up, because the flames were so big, having a big wood fire in the forge, it got behind the hardy board and started the wall on fire.
Okay, so you burned down a wall of your shop.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I had a little forge and odd and end little tools and stuff. But once I got that grinder in there, I was like, oh man, that really was a huge step in, not having to have access to a grinder only 4 hours a week. I had access whenever I wanted to be grinding knives and learning how to grind a halfway decent bevel and plunge line.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and then at that school, we started doing ABS hammer-ins, and Jason Knight was there. And Bert
Do they
Foster.
still do it?
No.
Okay.
COVID kind of killed that, which I think I heard that they're going to try and start it back up again. But
Okay.
the whole...
So shout out the school. Let people know.
Yeah, Haywood Community College in Clyde, North Carolina. I don't know if they're doing any classes right now. The guy who was running it when I was there, he retired.
Okay.
And then since then, it's kind of been struggling. And being a community college, it's the board and stuff didn't really care about the blacksmithing program
Right.
and stuff,
But if they get enough interest, if there's enough people in Clyde, North Carolina that want to go out, they've experienced success before. This is like the write your local politician, but it's like write your local administrator.
Yeah.
Let them know.
Mm-hmm.
They have equipment on hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So they started doing ABS stuff, and I got to meet a bunch of really talented bladesmiths and discover you can actually make really nice knives, and just the details they could do and what they could pull off, is eye-opening. Seeing that firsthand, shoot, I didn't even have a smartphone back then, so it was the before times of Instagram and just seeing everyone's work and everything and people sharing their process.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see stuff firsthand. And
yeah, I wasn't big in the blacksmithing Facebook. I was never big on Facebook. And I think at least, Twitter and Instagram were easier for me to follow blacksmithing because as somebody who was only doing it every couple months, whenever I saw Nathan, jumping on forums was cool and learning, I Forged Iron was the big one for me. But I didn't really follow anybody on Facebook because there was a lot of I'm facing this problem. What are you doing? There wasn't a lot of here's my work, and I remember downloading Instagram and following Nathan, or maybe it wasn't Nathan, but following somebody, because I feel like Nathan had a juke until we were 30 years old. But following somebody, and you could click on it and see who they followed. And they followed all these other blacksmiths. And I was like, oh, I'll follow these guys. And I followed a guy named Cooper Hill. I believe it was Cooper Hill who did forest management. And through them, I found Best Made. And then through Best Made, I found so many blacksmiths. And I remember going to Nathan every time we'd hang out. And I'd be, oh, have you seen this guy's work? Have you seen this guy's work? So Instagram was a huge turning point for me to actually be able to be involved, because it was easier to see a picture and be inspired than to hear all the problems you're having and then see a conversation about how you fixed it and go, yeah, I really want to do that. Seems like this guy's having a ton of fun.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny when I first got a smartphone, I downloaded Instagram, which I thought it was just like a photo editing app. I didn't realize it was some sort of like social media thing.
Yeah.
Which, because like a few of my Facebook friends, you know, they were reposting pictures, which, you know, in that time it was all the like, oh, look, it looks like an old retro Polaroid picture.
It's like sepia filter and stuff. And they did. I feel like when they first started, they had like their own, like, what do they call it? Localized or internalized layout thing where you could go in and say, I want to make a post and I want to use these 3 pictures. And then you had to pick where in the grid the 3 pictures went or whatever. I feel like I remember that on Instagram.
I don't remember that.
No, maybe it was another app that I had to edit pictures with.
I don't know. But yeah, it was funny. Just like, you know, it's like, you know, whatever. I'll, you know, start posting stuff. And of course, at first it was just, you know, my friends or whatever that were following. I was doing, when we were still using hashtags, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, hashtag knife maker. And then looking to see like who else there was. And there was like one other person doing knife maker hashtags.
Oh, cool.
And then, you know, slowly growing and growing and growing. And just neat seeing other people and learning from them and sharing and all that.
So you start on your ABS journey. Obviously, I know you hate it when I say this, but you're, in my opinion, one of the most prolific knife makers doing it now. Your approach, and it might just be because I get to see you doing it, and I get a little bit more of the intricacy. But when you first reached out about, you know, hey, I hear you have an opening, that's something I might be interested in, all of us kind of had the same reaction, which was like, is that a waste of his time? Like, Charlie is genuinely one of our favorite makers across the entire shop. Anybody and everybody here knew about you, and we would talk about you. Obviously, we were friends from shows, and we met at the first Blade show I went to very briefly. And so when you were like, hey, I kind of want this opportunity, we were all like, that elevates the credibility of our school, which we really want. Being able to say, like, you know, you're going to come take a class and no matter what, Charlie's going to be there. It doesn't matter if Jason's teaching it, if Benton Frizzy's teaching it, if, Bensner's coming up and teaching it. It doesn't matter who's teaching it. Charlie's going to be there is a great bonus detail. And we've had people take classes that have said, you know, I'm so glad that Charlie's your teacher. Like I have a couple questions for him that are not class related. So, So, what, going from your ABS journey, I know that you worked at a grocery store, you worked at a small kind of manufacturing, ornamental, kind of get it done, blacksmithing, metalworking, adjacent shop.
Architectural blacksmithing.
Yeah. What was your pathway to kind of trying to stay within the business? Is this something that, I don't know how to word this, because we talk all the time about, if you want to be a knife maker, here's we talked about runway and we talked about inspiration, and we had, talked with Rob about, hey, I found this job that I can work 40 hours a week and give a really good livelihood to my family. And then blacksmithing can still be something I love, and it can still be a reprieve. And I like that balance. What has the balance been like for you staying in adjacent jobs while not going and working for, someone who just makes a bunch of knives? And I also say that knowing that you still make and sell knives and you have an independent business of your own. Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a second, but you always seem to have a job that's kind of adjacent.
Yeah. Just because that's my skill set. That's what I know how to do, I'm not going to have a desk job crunching numbers or building websites. That's not me. Yeah, like, you know, when I started working for that blacksmith shop, I ran into him being set up at, you know, the state fair and the blacksmithing festival in Spruce Pine right outside of Penland. They always do, every spring they have a blacksmith festival. So yeah, I was talking with him and chatting. He's like, yeah, come, you know, visit me sometime and check out the shop. So I went there and he ended up putting me to work. Like, you know, he was casting some aluminum for some kitchen chair or dining room chair feet to raise up. Cause like the table,
the distinct difference between kitchen and dining room.
So, you know, the chairs had to be raised up an inch or an inch and a half, whatever it was.
That was actually one of the first projects that I worked with Nathan on when he started. I don't think it was Cole at the time. I can't remember what the name of his little business was, but he was doing benches and just like some custom blacksmithing here and there. And this woman had contacted us to lower her table because she went to like a Home Goods or something like that and bought a table, and the chairs that came with it, I'm not like, they made you feel like a toddler. When you sat in it, the chair was like throat height.
Oh, geez.
And so we were like, oh man, we need to lower these. So it was the complete inverse.
Yeah.
But taking something that has been done, were the chairs made, like, were they handmade or were they made in kind of mass production and you had to?
They were mass produced, but they're like vintage, like 60s aluminum chairs.
Oh, okay.
So like jet air looking like retro futuristic kind of deal.
Like they'd sit outside a Streamline in a picture.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you have any struggle with the finish on that? Because our biggest thing was what we ended up doing was we were going to just cut the legs down and make new feet. But what we did was we cut the feet off, didn't cut the legs off. And then we bent the legs down to give it to lower it. But we did that because it was like, there's no way we can recreate the finish.
Mm-hmm.
So was there like and this is not entertaining for the people at home, just, and I recognize that, but did you struggle with that finish of getting the lower section of the leg to match the upper section?
It was a little fiddling with it. You know, they were cast, the aluminum. So, you know, it has that little kind of pebbly looking texture to it. I think we ended up wire brushing the aluminum, and that kind of it's a pretty similar, which, you know, it's on the ground. So it's like, you know, pretty far away from eye level anyways. So.
Yeah. Being covered by shadows.
Yeah.
Okay. So
close enough to.
You have used your talents, and this is an ongoing thing that I kind of want to talk about is a lot of our listeners and a lot of people I talk to that are buying presses are trying to figure out what their proper medium is in being able to do what they love, but also providing for their family or for themselves, even if they're single.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple people that have said, hey, this is my jump off point. This is where I went into full time. These are the struggles I've had. Obviously, Nathan creating a business. We've had a couple other guys that do it independently. Talking to Rob, who's like, this will never be my thing. Talking to Nate Howitt, who decided to take what he was good at as a teacher and begin to inspire people, and has now fallen in love with a lot of the craft. Whereas you have said, you know, this is what I'm good at. This is where my talents are. And even if it's not every week I have to put out a knife or I have to find this whole clientele, you find work in ornamental blacksmithing. You find work in a blacksmithing school. You're also helping us out in CNC and around the floor. It comes up every time, but I literally would have slammed my head into concrete several times during the great, almost probably should have been shutdown of coal for 2 months last year. But do you feel like there have been any drawbacks or any pitfalls to you working within the industry, doing things that you like to do, but not being able to devote your entire time to knife making?
Yeah, like when I was working at that blacksmith shop, you know, it was never really full time, you know, it was 30 hours a week, you know, or it ranged week to week, you know. Which the whole time, you know, I'm working on my own stuff and getting that side hustle, I guess. But yeah, it came to a point like I had to either like, you know, I had a kid at that point and it's like sole income. Like I can't do it this way anymore. I either gotta go find a real job or just like go full time making knives so that, you know, I can get stuff made fast enough to get the bills paid. So I had my wife's blessing and support to just go for it and see what happened, you know, which the first year of going full time, you know, we didn't have hardly any cushion. It was not the ideal, like, oh, have 3 months of cushion. So, you know, you don't have to be super struggling, but we made it work and it, you know, it ended up working out pretty good, which also at that point too, our overhead was pretty low because we were staying at my mother-in-law. She had a spare house. Basically, she got remarried because my wife's father passed away even before we started dating from cancer, from being in plumbing and stuff. Like,
Yeah. Gnarly chemicals.
Yeah. Like they're talking about like everyone they knew in the industry was getting killed by cancer. It's like, sheesh. So with like the insurance money and stuff, they were able to get this foreclosure and they were living in there. And then she ended up getting remarried and moving up to Tennessee. And she's like, hey, like you guys can live at this house, you know, you can need to kind of fix it up because there's nasty carpet that they never tore out.
Yeah.
They couldn't, and a few other things, paint the walls and whatnot. But, you know, you can stay there and just cover insurance and taxes on it.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Like, yeah.
And if I have to put in a toilet, it's still cheaper than a mortgage, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with today's rates.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
We should just buy a compound, all of us, and move in together. Everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, low overhead, but still, it's a lot to handle, anyways.
Yeah, especially with a new baby, and your kids aren't too far apart either. It's like, you know, not only do you now have a 3-year-old, but you're pregnant again, so you have doctor's appointments for the 3-year-old to get checked up on. I am a huge proponent of the young and the old need doctors. So that falls into the like my 5-year-old should probably get a checkup, you know?
Yeah.
And then prenatal care, all that boiling over, that quickly eats into the like, oh, well, I don't have a mortgage or I don't have rent. Well, now you have those extra expenses that is having children, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I ended up being full-time just about 5 years, which I worked at the grocery store for 5 years, then started working for the blacksmith, Veleka Metal Design for 5 years, and then went full-time for myself. And then like I ended up, you know, talking to you guys like, oh man, that's weird how it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
every 5 years you have a change in season.
So yeah, you know, when I heard about the opportunity to work for you guys, I was like, well, that sounds like, you know, a really cool opportunity. My wife's not going to want to move to Indiana though. She complains about the winters in North Carolina and she's lived her whole life there, you know.
Oof. A little different up here.
Yeah. Last year was a struggle for her getting through the winter. Hopefully this year is better. But yeah, it ended up, she was down for it. She, was like, oh, you get paid every week?
Yeah.
Like we can budget normally, not have to be like, oh, you probably make this much this week, this month.
Right. We can set a baseline of, we know you're going to make this much. And an added benefit of working here is, excuse me, is if you can justify the overtime, we're fine. I work overtime a ton because it's way easier to pay me for a few extra hours than to hire like a desk person who just answers phone calls and directs them or handles attendance or, things like that. And in your position, it's like, well, I kind of do need Charlie to do these 3 or 4 things this week. And he has a class on Saturday. He doesn't need to miss Tuesday if he doesn't want to, so you have that like, okay, we know we're going to make X amount of money, but if something comes up or if we just want a little bit of padding, Y can also happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, all through my whole journey, it's all, working for another blacksmith, being able to learn on the job of stuff, I didn't make a ton of money working there. I didn't make hardly any money, but it was also like, hey, I'm learning on the job. I'm learning all these skills and machining
tuition.
And it's like, it's a lot cheaper than going to school and racking tons of day,
Yeah.
Welding, machining, just finishing techniques, how like making MIG welding stuff and grinding it to a state where you can, scale it back up and blend it and you can't tell, cheating.
I would honestly kind of love if we could do a poll on Instagram and see how many full-time blacksmiths, if you follow us and you're a full-time blacksmith, do you have a degree in something not related? Like it would be interesting to know because I just saw a statistic that something like 60 or 65% of people that retire with like 20 years or more in their industry have a completely unrelated degree. So you go and you get your history degree and then you get hired somewhere and you're like, this really isn't the move. And then you go work for, Speedway as an area supervisor for gas stations or whatever. And all those jobs care about is that you have a degree. They don't care what it's in. They just want proof that you can follow through with something.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see if it'll be lower. I think we probably in our atmosphere have a lot more of the guys that were like, I don't need to go to college because I'm going to work for myself, and it's a lot of really smart, intuitive people that, I don't want to cause drama here, but I do think that if you can bite the bullet and just live a little below means for a little bit and scale up and tool up slowly, it's a lot better than going into debt for either education or machine or whatever. We talk about if you want to press, next time you get a bid for a job, work the price of the press into the bid, because if you're going up against these huge shops, your $70,000 bid is still going to come in way under their $300,000 bid because they have way more overtime. And there's obviously going to be opportunities there. They might be a little bit faster because they have 10 employees and you are by yourself. They might be able to install where you can install because you don't have a scissor lift or access to this or that. But I think that blacksmiths and metalworkers in general kind of follow that same line of thinking where it's like, I could go to college and I could get a degree in business and that would help me with how I handle my accounting because I want to run my own company and stuff like that. Or I can learn on the fly because a lot of these, take you and Nathan and Logan and to a even slightly way more moderate degree myself, where it's like, if I need to get something done and I need to make a decision, I can spend an hour or two researching my options, make a decision, and even if it's not the absolute best one, I feel like I can make a good quality decision. I lost my mic for a second there in my ears. But anyway, so.
I'd like to know how many people out there who are full-time makers were homeschooled.
Oh, that's also a good one.
Because, like, most homeschoolers got to be more self-motivated. They're not used to a teacher being like, hey, get your work done. Get your work done. Like,
right. I also feel like there's two kinds of homeschoolers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my little brother was homeschooled for quite a bit, and then he ended up going into a private school here. He was homeschooled essentially because he was hyperactive, and teachers didn't want to deal with him, and that's a tragedy. If you are in a situation where your employment depends on kids learning, and you can just be like, oh yeah, sometimes he dances, so I don't want to teach him. That's terrible. We need to look into that. But he really struggled when he went into his high school, because homeschooling for him was my mom saying, I need you to get these things done, and once they're done, we'll check them, and we'll go from there. And then there's homeschooling. Like, I have friends that were homeschooled. I actually have dated girls for a very long time that were homeschooled. And both of them were like, their parents have some sort of educational background, and they have a curriculum, and they introduce the idea and then say, okay, so we're going to talk about, physics. This is the introduction to it. I need you to go through your course. If you have questions, let me know. But you also have a little brother or a little sister. So I can't do full on lessons for everybody. You have to kind of, like you said, you have to work more independently, but I'm here if you have questions.
Yeah.
And those people, the thought process, because they've always had to get themselves to a conclusion, they're a lot more self-reliant, and they don't need to go out and hire an accountant right away. They can get to the conclusion they need to get to on their taxes because they've always had to do that. They don't need to go to Alro and say, hey, Alro, I'm doing these things. What kind of steel do I need? They can get to that conclusion because that's what they've always done. So that's a really good question, is how many of us were homeschooled? I wasn't. I went to a very not highly regarded public school, like bad. In Indiana, we have this thing called I-STEP, and I got to go to lunch with my principal because I was one of I think it was 3 kids. I think it was me and 2 other people that passed both sections of I-STEP out of 68 or 69 kids in my class. Yeah.
Rough.
We went to Dairy Queen. It was sick. That was the only restaurant in my hometown. There's a Chinese place and a Subway, but he chose Dairy Queen. But anywho, carry on.
I would choose Dairy Queen too.
Dairy Queen, dude, their food is underrated. If we're being real, Dairy Queen burgers are probably top 3 burgers in fast food.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had a Dairy Queen burger.
White Castle, Wendy's, Dairy Queen, in that order.
Not Rallies?
Rallies. Okay, so here's the thing. Rallies is very hit and miss. If you're not scared for your life when you're at a Wendy's drive-thru or a Rallies drive-thru window, it's going to be the worst food you've ever had. The worst. But if you are at a Rallies and you're like, lock the doors, I might get in a fist fight, especially if the employees are the one that are making you frightful. It's going to be the best food. The best food. Absolutely. Every time I've been to a Rallies where I feel comfortable, it's like, this is disgusting. But if they've got bad employees and a burnt down building next to them, eat there every day of the week. Lafayette and 38th in Indianapolis, the best. That is the best Rallies on earth. And if anybody's from Indiana, 38th and Lafayette, it's not good. Not a great area. But anyway, you tell your wife, we won't mention her by name because I don't think you have. Have you? I don't know.
I don't think it really matters. She's not really on social media.
Okay. So she won't care that we call her D'Artagnan.
Dorcas.
Dorcas, yeah. You go to her and you say, hey, I have a job offer, or I want to reach out about a job because you reach out to us. I know you hate how cold it is, and I want to move to even colder. And in the summer, it's even hotter. So you're getting the worst of both scenarios. Is that cool? And she said yes.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like, you know, when I was finding out about the job and stuff, you know, I just didn't get a whole lot of details because I was like, that's not for me, you know?
Yeah.
But then she was like asking me questions like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
But, you know, you seem like you're serious about this. So I went back and asked more questions about the job and details and stuff, and ended up coming up here to check out the place. And I was wanting to teach here anyways, so it was also kind of prep work to come up and teach the class as well. And then teaching the class was also just getting a better feel for everything and seeing how it goes. So at that point, I was like, yeah, I think it'd be foolish to not jump at this opportunity and just gotta jump and find out.
Yeah. Well, I think too, the job is cool. Don't get me wrong. I think that if I were to be in your position, it would be an easy, yeah, the job's cool. The thing that sticks out to me as somebody who has traveled and moved around a lot for a previous job, my question, and if I wish I would have been smarter when I was younger and asked these questions, is what does the area look like? Are you trying to cement me here? Is this something that you want me to come out and teach for 2 years, get your school off the ground, and then, you know, blow off into the wind? How easy is it? How easy is it to join the community? You know, when I moved to Springfield, the assistant manager in that store was like, "Hey, here's all my friends. They're your friends now. I gave them your number, and they expect you to have a house party to welcome you. You're throwing it." Like, so that was awesome. And I got to know everybody. The town is, I think, 60, 70,000 people. So it was very easy. When I moved to Chicago, I moved in August of 2020. So nothing was open, especially in Chicago. Nothing was open.
Yeah.
Even, you know, in Indiana, we had to have our masks on, of course, you know, while we're running the store. And then as soon as you shut the gate, everybody would take their masks off and start working. In Chicago, it was like, if I had to like lean over and cough and I moved my mask a little bit to cough into my shoulder, it was like, Francis, you need to go home. You coughed. I'm not dealing with this, you know, and the tensions were high. So it was hard to meet people when you can't go into, you know, even grocery shopping was hard because if you got there before like 6 or 7 o'clock, you didn't know if you were going to be able to get into the store. You had to go wait in line. Which was convenient for me to get off work at 9 because it didn't close until 10. There was a buyer right next to my house. But, you know, during those peak hours, they were like, somebody was there with a clicker, like just clicking people in and out. So, but those would have been some of my questions. And I think when you came up, and you can tell me you hate me and that everybody here is terrible, but when you came up, it was a pretty easy, like, oh, like Charlie's kind of the man. Like Charlie fits right in. One of the things that we were really concerned about is there is a lot of opinions that go on at Cole Ironworks. I'm very opinionated. Nathan's very opinionated. Logan's very opinionated. Evan, unfortunately, has to deal with all of those opinions. And he's kind of, we can't have another person screaming in this building. And when you came in, it was like, oh, like Charlie has valid input, but you also aren't such an aggressive personality that it's like, okay, things are clashing. And you also calm us all down. You know, when we're in a conversation, there is a noticeable difference in the tone when you're a part of it than if it's just me and Nathan or just me and Logan. You just have this very calming effect that we really needed. Did you think about obviously it's not like you knew us well enough to be like, I'm going to be a calming effect for Cole. No. But did you think about anything like that? Like, oh, I'm uprooting my kids. I'm making this move. What's the outcome going to be for my family? Or is that something that kind of was not thought of?
No, it was definitely part of the thought process of moving, you know, which my kids are still, you know, pretty young. So it's like, you know, they haven't gone through elementary and middle school, and they've got friends that they've had for 8 years or whatever.
Yeah.
When if you're 12 and you've had a friend since you were 6, like that's half your life, and pretty much like as long as you can remember, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But they were still pretty darn young, so it's like which when you're that age too, it's like, oh, you like Pokemon? Great, let's be best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like so simple just to be buddies with whoever,
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and just thinking about my wife, like I said, she lived in the same town her whole life, so moving 500 miles away is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So she's still getting used to the area, and she still misses North Carolina a lot, and misses her friends and stuff. But it's only been a year, so
Yeah.
Stuff takes time,
Right.
Finding our community outside of Cole too. Like, I feel bad because, I'm buddies with everyone here, but she's hasn't found her group yet.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time, which she's real shy and introverted too. So
Yeah.
it's hard for her to, like, all her friends from North Carolina are from high school.
Yeah.
So
Deep bonds.
yeah, which she's still, in good touch with them. So that's good. It's nice to be in the age of FaceTime and
Right. Where it's not like everybody shut up. Mom has to call her friends.
Yeah.
We can't make any noise. And then,
send a telegram.
well, I remember growing up, my grandparents lived in Texas, and when grandma and grandpa were on the phone, like my mom would call them once a week. And when they were on the phone, it was like nothing happens in this house. The TV is off. You're sitting down. It has to be quiet.
Well, you're paying per minute too for those long distance phone calls.
Right. And I don't know, like I said, I grew up in a very small town. I don't know if they had great phone connections. It might have been choppy. And so having the ability to shoot a text like, eating at rallies, thought about you, LOL. It's like that, even just sending that text without receiving anything in return makes you feel connected. So that is an added benefit. So now you're here, I want to get into some more day-to-day questions.
Okay.
One of them I think is going to be fun. We'll talk about it. One thing that you to me are this big like superhero of he just knows how to do it. So I want to ask you, we talked about your challenges early on, not having a grinder, not being very well experienced, and then only really being able to see your own work. So then when you get Instagram, you can kind of expand out. What challenges have you faced recently as a knife maker? And how did you overcome them compared to overcoming them when you were early on?
Working on concrete floors was a huge challenge because my tiny little shed in the backyard, was plywood floors, and I was sitting half the time too because everything was in arm's reach. So then moving to a shop that's all concrete and also an acre under roof, it's like, I'm walking like 15,000 steps a day, and my feet are killing me.
Yeah. That's a very real one.
Yeah.
My boots, I wear out my soles before I wear out my actual boots. Like this is the first time in my life that I've realized like why people get their shoes resoled. Yeah.
So yeah, got Red Wings. That helped a lot.
Shout out Red Wings.
Get some inserts but yeah, man, the first year, like pretty much the whole year, like my feet were just killing me.
Were you wearing the boots that won't be named that kind of took off that everybody hate now?
I had a pair of those. I tried them, which even before moving here, like I wore them a couple times. It's like, I don't like these. There was
Harley and Gage loved theirs. And they're the only people that I've heard have like really great experiences with them. But they also have weird, wide, like They have a specific kind of foot.
Yeah, but the pair I had, like, just how they, like how they wore on my ankles, and there was a weird, like, hard spot inside of, like, the toe or whatever. Like, it was just
Okay.
felt bad, you know. So I wore them like a day or two here, and it's like, no, that's not working at all.
It's funny how even down to that, and I've heard other people talk about, you know, little things that are not knife related at all and not machine related at all or technique related will tell you make the biggest difference. And it's like a comfortable pair of boots. You know, I've had guys tell me I only wear shorts because it gets so hot in my shop. And if I try to wear pants, I can't focus, you know? So it's kind of funny that what's your biggest pitfall recently? And you're like, dude, my boots, like being comfortable physically while I'm doing this stuff has a huge impact.
Yeah. So yeah, that just working with other people again, you know, just being alone for 5 years. I'm a total shop hermit, you know. I could just be by myself for forever and be perfectly fine. But it's nice being around people, you know, which I'm also kind of more secluded back in the school compared to the rest of the shop. But, you know, I'm still able to get out and converse and share ideas and bounce ideas off of other people and talk.
Yeah, especially when you have Logan and you have Nathan and you have guys who are in the same vein, but, you know, very different. Logan's obviously going to lean you into more of like, oh, well, why don't you just run that on the mill? Whereas Nathan's going to probably say, oh, we need to make a jig for that. We need to make machines that actually do that for you. And then if you ask me or Greg, it's just out of the novelty of asking me or Greg, you know? Yeah, it is. It's really cool to see, or I guess I worded that completely wrong, but you do kind of have the best of both worlds where you can go back and even if you want to shut the garage door and it's like, okay, nobody's in there. Charlie's really, really doing it. Or you can come out and, hey, you got 10 minutes. I got this thing I want to do. And we've collaborated, between you and myself and Logan, a lot with like classes and minis, like, oh, we want to do this mini. It'll be super cool. I want to make these dies. Okay. I can tell you what the dies look like. Logan, help me draw them in Fusion and help me make a program. And, so it is nice to have that support, but also have the ability to shut your garage door and say, not today.
Yeah. Yeah. So also just learning CAD and Fusion and all that, you know, I'm not a computer guy. So, which like inside of Fusion, like that's kind of how my brain works though, like how to put stuff together. It was just like, oh, what buttons do I need to push, you know, or how am I supposed to work this program? But
well, you've figured out how to communicate with raw steel to make what you want. Now you're learning how to communicate with a computer to make what you want. So it's just conversation. It's communication, whether it be with your words or with your hands or with your hands still, but with a keyboard and mouse. Yeah. Learning how to say, this is what's in my brain. And that's what Logan essentially brought up about getting a mill at home. And if it was still knife making or, you know, if there was still an art to the craft is at the end of the day, somebody who is making a huge knife and it is brute to forge, hand finished everything, they're taking what they see in their brain and they're using their hands to make it. He is taking his hands and telling a computer, this is exactly what I want it to do. I'm losing my headphones. Am I still good on are you getting it? Okay, that's fine. I can live without headphones. That's fine.
I think you're just getting a little further.
Is it? I don't know. Maybe. I got to crank that guy up there a little bit. Okay. So with your background and everything that you've done and everything that you've experienced and been able to accomplish, how do you stay inspired? How do you keep the fires lit? Fam.
It's lit, fam.
It's always lit, fam. Lit, fam. Never mind. I'm not going to. That's going to derail us.
Inspired. Just working here, it's, I've got 12 presses back there. All just like, hey, Charlie, excuse me, make some dice. You want to make some dice and make some weird shapes. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's what the press is, are they audibly talking to you? Do I need to get you checked out?
It's that high pitched squeal of them turning the pumps,
Yeah. I totally relate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, just having access to everything here is just super, super great to just be able to accomplish stuff, have ideas come to fruition because I have the ability to do it,
Mm-hmm. You think in such a unique way and having the ability to nothing that you do is easy, but you have the ability to get it accomplished now.
Yeah. It's a lot more attainable too. Like I was, my old shop, I had a Bridgeport, but it was like from the 1940s, and everything manual, no DRO or anything.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm still getting it done, It's just the more you tool up, the just more potential and the easier it is to accomplish,
Sure. Sure. So you gain inspiration. Would you say that the more that you get accomplished, it's easier to be inspired because you actually see the fruits of your labor?
Yeah.
There goes those presses talking to you again.
Yeah, I'd say,
because that's how I am. Is like, so I haven't been in the forge hardly at all this entire year, and to the point where like when I go to IBA meetings, I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do because I haven't been active in it and I haven't accomplished anything. So it's like, oh, I kind of want to do this, but. And it's not like a defeating, like, I'll never be able to do that. But it's like, I kind of want to do this. That's a lot. That's a big jumping off point, and like, it kind of makes me understand the start every day with a leaf or start every day with a S hook or, whatever, because just getting that little bit of a win.
Yeah. You just need that inertia.
Yeah.
To get you going.
Yeah. Rolling down the hill. Mm-hmm. All right. Switching gears completely. It's something that we've been hearing a lot for the past 2 years, which is, oh yeah, man, the knife selling climate, the tool selling climate, the people getting into blacksmithing climate. It's all this climate is no good, right? We're experiencing a downtrend, or this isn't going for what it used to, or it's just not as hot as it used to be. Do you think that's really a thing, or do you think that that's just the ebb and flow of life and any sort of if you go back and talk to anybody in the ABS that did it in the 80s, they're like, yep, 87 was like this. It'll come back around. 91 was a really good year for me. And you just wait it out. It's not a bad climate. It's just ebbs and flows of everything.
Yeah.
Or do you really think that it is showing something more significant like people are saying it is?
Yeah. Like a few weeks ago, I was down with Jason Knight filming some stuff with Evan. He was talking about, in 2008, with the housing crash and everything, how it was rough for a few years back then too. It's naturally just going to ebb and flow with the economy and just everything. So many variables to everything. But it was definitely, with Forged in Fire and social media and everything, it's just, there was a huge surge for so long.
Yeah.
It just kind of, people just took it for normal. And now, everyone's getting tighter with their money, and everyone's getting shadow banned or whatever, And then there's so many people who got into it too, because they saw Forged in Fire and they saw whatever. They saw, what's his name? Oh, man. Anyways.
Man at Arms?
Yeah. Sure. Or, just anyone online. They're like, oh, man, that's awesome. I want to get into that.
Yeah.
So, which I still think, even with however many people are making knives today compared to the general population, it's like, there's still there's still an untapped market out there. Well, there's still people willing to buy the stuff that don't even know we're here,
Right. There's, just to for a general throw it out there, Logan makes knives, and Logan typically sells to people that buy his knives. Like, he doesn't, it's not like he's selling at Bass Pro Shops or, Ace Hardware. It's like people have kind of found his style and they like it, and they only buy their knives from him. As far as I understand, I haven't really talked to him at length, but, guys that collect knives is one thing. That's super cool. But there is a local company here that has recently reached out to Logan and was like, hey, we've got a 10-year anniversary. Let's buy a knife. And that guy's going to carry that knife, and it's going to do what pocket knives do. And that's why they asked Logan, is because that's what he makes. He makes EDC, everyday carry. Like, his knives are meant to be made or meant to be used. And it's a little bit more sentimental buying it from a local maker. This got made in the same town where I've worked for 10 years, as you can go get a Spyderco or, Montana Knife Company. And it's like, yeah, those are great, nice knives, but having the story of this was made locally, this is a connection that is inside of our community. I think there's a ton of opportunity for that as well. It used to be kind of commonplace for the top salesman every year gets a kitchen knife set, and, your 5-year anniversary, you get a watch and stuff like that. And there are still a lot of companies that do that, and reaching outside of the knife buying community might be the answer to, quote unquote, today's climate. Maybe we don't have as many collectors, or maybe there are more knife makers than collectors now. Cool. People are still buying knives.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so much of it is just like, it's just too much in its own bubble, and people can't see outside of that. And they, you go to Blade Show and you're trying to sell knives. It's like, there's 300 other people here trying to sell the same knife. Like, yeah, it's going to be tough to sell knives here, but you go to your local gun show, and that market, you're not selling $1,500 knives there, because if someone's walking around with $1,500, they're going to buy a rifle. They're not going to buy a knife.
Maybe you do though. That's the thing is, like,
it's possible, but
gun shows, those guys have money, and if they have $1,500 in their pocket, they've got $30,000 in the bank. I've seen people go to gun shows and sell $200, $300 knives and just completely wear out. Like, it's gone. What's the word I'm looking for? Out, wear out, clean out. Sold out. That's the word I'm looking for. Sold out. But if you're selling knives for $1,500 and you go to a gun show and you sell one, depending on the price of the booth, probably still worth your money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just also knowing the market of where you're at. Like a gun show, if you got a table full of $150, $200 knives and you sell them all, like, that adds up real fast. So that's easy. I know I've went to shows where I was so focused on getting the big fancy showstopper done that I didn't have any keychains or any, $20 items for sale.
Yeah.
And I just had a crappy year at that show, because I didn't have anything to sell that anyone was going to buy,
Yeah. And it's like Greg talked about too on his episode. He was like, I bought a set of knives off of him, and those knives probably, I'm just going to put a guesstimated value on those knives, what I would be willing to pay is probably $500 to $600 for the set. We're not going to be able to take those to a farmer's market in a very rural town that's all farmers and everybody works at the, we're right outside of Red Gold Tomato Factory and, there's not a ton of wealth where we live. A local farmer's market, he probably won't be able to sell. He might sell a couple sets over the course of the summer, but he's not selling 50. If we go to Carmel with a $500 set of knives, he might sell 5 or 6 that one day just because of where you're at and where the wealth is. And not to put down the people that live in this area. It's not sticking my finger up and calling them poor. Excuse me. It's just, I think it would behoove people to do what you just said, like have the showstopper, have the thing that says, this is what I'm capable of.
That draws people in. And, that draws their attention, but then, you get them over to the table and then they see the cheaper stuff. It's like, oh man, like I'll try one of these cheaper ones and, maybe they use it. I've had that before too, where someone will buy just a real cheap, like economy version knife from me and they use it. It's like, man, like he'd put a lot into it for the price. And then, they end up buying a nicer knife because they knew my quality of work and they had that confidence to buy something of higher value because they knew I was good at what I did. And
I'm bad at that. I will, if it's something that is kind of a first time buy and it's out of my price range, but it's something I can save up for and afford, I will buy a throwaway version of it from a couple different companies if I have to and say, okay, this is what I think I'll like. Let me try it out for a little bit. Okay, I think I like this, but even for the money that I spent on it, I don't think it's worth it. Let me try this other brand. Oh, okay, yeah, no, this brand has a lot better quality in it. When I buy the final thing, I'm going to buy their top tier. So, and I'm probably creating more waste by doing that and buying cheapo versions of stuff. But I do that a lot where like I want to buy something and kind of get instilled in confidence. And it's almost like fighting for the sale, where it's like that company's willing to put a little bit extra into their bottom line offerings in order to get you into that medium, mid-size, large tier item as well, Yeah. So people don't, is it the GT, the Ford GT or whatever that everybody talks so highly of? It's like that's the best car on earth and like literally the best performance, whatever. And if you buy a Ford Escort, it doesn't line up, But I also doubt that anybody's buying a Ford Escort to see if they want a McLaren.
Yeah.
So, all right. Very last question. And this one's a little insightful. This one's a little thinker. What does your legacy look like in knife making? And what does that mean to you? What do you want people to remember and why?
I always kind of wanted to be known as like the Willy Wonka of knife making. It's like pure imagination and, just outside the box thinking and crazy patterns. I like can't figure out how we got there.
Yeah, that's good. It's accurate. What's funny too is that immediately what I think about is when you say Willy Wonka, I think people will think of like, just crazy out there, like, whoa, like that shouldn't work.
Gotta throw in the tennis shoes for that little kick.
But at the end of the day, Willy Wonka, the products, this is such a weird analogy. The products that he offered still, like kids still had to eat candy. So he couldn't just do these things that were like crazy and wild and then people not like them and not want to eat them. So the thing that sticks out is like, yeah, you have crazy patterns and you have wild, ambitious things going on in your knives. But at the end of the day, they're all still functional. They're not, in many regards, they are mantelpieces, but they're not mantelpieces in the fact of like, that's not what that's made for. Don't use it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not shaming anybody whatsoever who makes knives like that. You know, like that dude that made the meteorite knife that looked like venom coming out of the back. I think his name's Tristan something.
Tristan Dare, I think.
Yeah. That is a knife that I'm sure functionally it would cut a steak. I don't know that I would want to use it to do that because it's too much. You know, it's like that would sit in a case. And if that's its purpose, great. I hope he finds somebody, he sells it and somebody else texts him and says, hey, make another one because I want to buy one, you know, whatever. But for you to compare yourself to Willy Wonka is like, yeah, there's these huge extravagant things going on with your build, but it's still a knife and it's still approachable. And I wouldn't feel bad about serving dinner with it or, you know, preparing dinner with it, or the bread knife that you made is like super cool. Guess what? We cut pizza with it, you know? That's a really good analogy because at the end of the day, Wonka had to sell chocolate bars and you can do everything crazy you want, but if it doesn't taste good, nobody's going to buy it. When was the last time you had a zero bar or a whatchamacallit? These things are gross.
Whatchamacallits?
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's unfair. I don't think I've ever actually had a whatchamacallit. But zero bars are gross.
We've got them in the vending machine.
I know. That's why I thought about it. I think I saw it and was like, I wonder what that tastes like. But zero bars are gross and I will die on that hill. They are absolutely terrible. Nobody should ever eat that. But at the same time, you walk past a Snickers and it's like, I've had that. Whatever. And then you walk by a Butterfinger and it's like, oh, you can't identify that for what is that? Chocolate, peanut butter, and coconut? What is it? What is in that? It's like a little mysterious. Just hits the spot a little differently.
Yeah, hits that spot in your teeth that was stuck there for
about a month.
hours.
Yeah. It's like, how do you make toffee out of peanut butter, coconut, and honey? Well, I just answered that. It's the honey.
There's like Butterfinger crisp bars. That's the same flavor, but it's like soft and it doesn't get stuck in your teeth.
Do they still make Butterfinger BBs?
BBs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Butterfinger BBs were my
Was it
jam.
like little pellets?
Like Whoppers, yeah.
Oh.
But Butterfinger.
Whopper size?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they were good.
Finn calls them whoopers.
Whoopers? Yeah. I love Finn.
Yeah.
I love Finn. My favorite short story, you had to pick the boys up the other day and you brought them to the shop. And my favorite role in my entire life is being an uncle. And in your kid's life, I have forced myself into that. I was not invited. I have forced myself into being an uncle. And I was yelling at him from shipping and he was over by the front door and I could hear him. He was like, he wasn't afraid. It wasn't like that. He was like talking to Charlie though. He was like, who is that? That sounds like Francis. I think that's Francis. And Charlie the entire time was like, well, yeah, Francis works here. That's going to be Francis yelling at you. Nobody else knows your name, Finn. Like, and like Charlie is trying to logic it out to like affirm that Finn is right. And so Finn just like walks around quietly, like tilts his head over and he goes, oh, okay. And then just like walks back, doesn't acknowledge me. And then once he gets back to Charlie, he goes, it was Francis. And then like leans over and, or I don't know if he's leaning over, but he like turns around and yells. He's like, hi, Francis. Like he just has so much personality, but it's like very subdued a lot of times where it's like an awkward character that you would see on The Office a lot of times, but he's what, 5, 6?
7.
7. Yeah. See, that's an uncle's job. You don't know their age. You know their approximate age. So, all right. Well, I think we can wrap it up with there. Evan, is there anything else that we need to holler about? Nope. Okay. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. This one was a little bit more impromptu, so sorry if it was a little bit less informative than it normally is, but I sure do appreciate you. And I welcome you in with arms wide open. Peace.